All right, guys, it is time to get back into the swing of things with some 223, or with some 5.56, if you will. All right, quick recap of kind of our recent progress with 5.56. We've been testing out some butt kicking bullets, right? Testing out a bunch of different butt kicking bullets and making videos with my Colt LE6920. Then I picked up this upper from Palmetto State Armory. One of their cheaper 16-inch uppers. And I had another barrel, an AR Stoner barrel, that we tried in this upper and tested them against one another, and they both shot pretty similar. So what I've done is I tore my upper back apart and put the original Palmetto State Armory barrel back in here. The main reason for doing that, so like I said, they shot pretty similar, but this does have a mid-length gas system where the AR Stoner had a carbine length gas system. So this will be a little bit better for when I'm shooting the gun suppressed. I did put on my Silencer Co. flash hider, so we will be able to put our suppressor on, and I'll be shooting suppressed today. So that's kind of where we stand. This is our new test platform. We're going to fire up these butt kicking 5.56 videos again, and we're going to test with this guy. The bullet for today is one I've been sitting on forever. I've had this box about a year, I think, but we're finally going to try them out. This is the 55 grain Controlled Chaos from Lehigh Defense. These bullets are sexy. Oh man, just beautiful. I think they're brass, or something close to brass. They do, so this is the 55 grain version. They do have a 45 grain version with this same brass, and then they have a 62 grain version that is copper. So those are the three offerings for 223 that they've got. So, and the price on these is not quite ridiculous. $33.55 right now on their website for 100 of these. So, 33.5 cents a piece. That's not the worst in the world, right? That's not all that much cheaper than our other premium bullets. Okay, so the good thing about Lehigh is they have load data on their website. Oh, that's awesome. They have 5 test powders for the 223 load data for this bullet, one of which is Accurate 2230. This is Ramshot X-Terminator, and it is the same powder as Accurate 2230. Same exact stuff. If you don't believe me, just pull up the Western Powders load guide, their load data, and you'll see that everything's exactly the same for X-Terminator and Accurate 2230. The other good thing about this powder, and the main reason why I want to test it, I'm also testing this with the 308 Controlled Chaos right now as well. This is what they use for their factory load. On the load data, they've indicated which load is their factory load, and 24.5 grains of Accurate 2230 is their factory load. So I want to try out what they're loading in their own factory ammo. So I wanted to grab a second powder to test with, but of the powders that they used that I have on hand, they were really, really close in burn rate and similar. So I wanted to try instead some CFE 223. This is much slower than your Accurate 2230. They're kind of on separate ends of the burn rate chart as far as 223 powders. So yeah, I don't know. Thought it would be a decent one to test. It's also very popular, Lots of people have CFE 223. All right, now load data. As I mentioned, the factory load with this guy is 24.5 grains. So I want to shoot half grain increments up to 24.5 grains. So starting at 22.5 and going up to 24.5. Their data shows a starting load of 22.0, but can't tell me what to do. We're going to cheat up a half grain and start at 22.5. Now, CFE 223, I'm really on my own here. We don't have any data from Lehigh, so we're kind of stuck. What I did was I went on the Hodgson website and pulled up the CFE 223 data for all of their different bullets and just tried to pick a number that hopefully won't blow my face off. So this is possibly going to blow my face off. Stay tuned to find out. We are going to shoot from 24.5 is going to be our starting load up to 26.5. I'm thinking that's going to be safe. Hopefully it is, but yeah, we'll see how it does. CFE 223 is going to be our second powder. For primers, we are using CCI number 41s. For brass, we are using some, I believe this is Federal 223. It is. Yep, we are using Federal 223 that I have already previously completely prepped. I've even got these guys primed up with our CCI number 41s and completely ready to go. So powder and bullet is all we need to do, and we will be on the range seeing how these guys perform. All right, does that cover everything? I think that's probably it. Not a whole lot to the reloading here. Like I said, brass is already fully prepped and ready to go. So I will weigh out the first few charges, and then we'll get to setting our bullet seating die, and we'll talk about that. My digital scale has decided to be a little bit goofy over the last couple of days, so we are beam scaling it today. Nothing wrong with that. Love the old beam scale. This is the first time I've used Ramshot X-Terminator. Ramshot and accurate powders. I mean, really, Ramshot tack is the most common powder you see. A lot of the others, it's not always easy to get them. So I don't have a lot of experience with many of their powders, but I'm getting used to them. I'm using them more and more because I really like their reloading guide. I like their load data. All right, our first 5 charges are thrown, so let's seat some bullets. All right, so back to our load data. We talked about our charge weight, but our overall length, the recommended overall length by Lehigh is 2.245 inches, which is pretty good. It's about 15 thousandths short of magazine length. Sounds perfect. It's a little bit funny, and I just realized I don't even need to set this bullet seating die. You guys don't need to see me crank on a bullet seating die, do you? Okay. Let me seat one real quick. That's what I was doing. I was grabbing the bullets. One last quick visual inspection into these 5. Make sure I didn't miss one. Nope, they've all got powder. All right, let's double check. Yeah, 2.245 is the overall length. Now, the weird thing, and it was the same way with 308. If you saw that video, you already know what I'm about to show you. But there's the top groove in the bullet is exposed. So the mouth of your case is just kind of hanging out there in open space, touching nothing. And I looked on their website, their factory ammo is the same way, it seems. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit weird. Now, also with the 308, I was concerned, and it still am. I haven't shot those rounds yet. If you've, I'm filming these videos together. But in that 308, there's not really a whole lot of bullet in contact with the neck of the case. This one, on the other hand, is a little bit better. All 3 of the bands, or all 3 of the bands of the bearing surface of the bullet look like they're going to be, it looks like 3 bands are going to be in contact with the neck of the case. So hopefully won't be any issue. And there probably won't be any issue with 308 either. But just some kind of something that jumped out at me. So now the question is about crimp. If you crimp this, you're just crimping it down into nothingness. I mean, we're not frickin' roll crimping this like it's a 357 Magnum, right? But I went ahead and set the Lee factory crimp die a little bit light. Yeah, I mean, you can't even see anything, but maybe just enough to tuck the neck of that case in just a touch. Like maybe just in case it was a little bit too exposed and might cause us some feeding issues, whatever. I just put a little squeeze on it. Not much of anything. And that is our first completed round. Good bit of case capacity left with this, for better or worse. We'll see how it goes. They seat really nice. They seat really smooth. These are really beautiful bullets. I forgot to crimp that last one, didn't I? I was too, like, I was just kind of sitting here admiring the rounds. Just thinking, man, you get you some like nickel-plated brass or something with those brass bullets. That would be pretty sweet, man. So this one, not a whole lot to talk about here with the reloading process. I'm just weighing charges and seating bullets. So I won't subject you to much more of it here. You've seen these first 5. All the rest are going to be the same. So I'll just see you guys out on the range, and we will see how they shoot. All right, we've made it out on the range. I grabbed the lower off of my 16-inch 300 Blackout. So this is a Magpul UBR stock. It's got a 3.5-pound CMC flat trigger. So it should do nicely. I've got a 4-16 Vortex scope on there. And we got my Silencer Co. Omega suppressor with my Magneto Speed chronograph. We will be shooting at 100 yards, way down there somewhere. I just got done shooting my 308s with the 145 grain controlled chaos, and my Tika in particular really shot well. So I'm hoping this beauty is going to do good with these 55s. So only one way to find out. Let's get started. So I did shoot some sighters with 23.5 grains of X-Terminator. Those ran fine and didn't have any pressure signs. So these first couple rounds, 22.5, 23.0, I'm not going to fuss too much about the brass. So first up here, 22.5 grain. That's not a bad start at all. Are they all in that group? It's getting a little dark out here. I can't see all that well. Or I can't see bullet holes all that well. Yeah, if they're all where I think they are, that is a very good start. Very, very good start. Velocity 2731 and a 34.5 standard deviation. All right. 23.0. All right, they kind of strung around there, didn't they? So we had over 100 feet per second of extreme spread on that one. Average was 27.56 and the standard deviation of 53.7. That is just gross. All right, 23.5. .24 grains. All right, that's not a bad little group. And our standard deviation tightened up. 2873 velocity. That was a pretty big jump in velocity. And much better standard deviation. Good. Let me pick up the brass, double check it, make sure we're good there. So the brass looks good. Next up is going to be 24.5 grains. And this is the one that, you know, on their load data, they identify as their factory load. Let's see how it does. Yeah, I should have moved the sights. Hopefully I got the camera to where you guys can see that, but it's right on the right edge of the paper. Hopefully they all stay on the paper. All right, velocity up to 29.28, but our standard deviation kind of went to crap there. All right, now things get interesting as we move over to CFE 223. Remember, we don't have any load data. We're flying a kite here. We don't really know what's going on. I'll tell you what, first of all, let me double check that brass from the 24.5 grain X-Terminator load. All right, so that brass looked good. Little bit of primer flattening, just, you know, that good, healthy, you can tell you got a pretty good hot load there, sort of flattening. You know what I'm talking about. That's kind of what it looked like. All right, first up is 24.5 grains of CFE 223. Really interested to see how well this shoots, because, you know, we've got much better case fill than we had with Ramshot X-Terminator. So hopefully that'll mean some smaller standard deviation numbers and some tighter groups. But still, those X-Terminator groups are pretty darn good for this gun. All right, we're going to keep our eye on velocity and have a real close look at this brass. All right, so velocity looks good and low, 25.32, actually quite low. The brass looks fine, a little hot, but otherwise, nothing to worry about. Let's see if it groups. All right, that group's, you know, not exactly what we're looking for. But hopefully our velocity climbs quickly, because 25.66 is pretty low. It's got me wondering how far we're going to get. So, all right, let's try 25 grains. All right, that's not a bad little group. Pretty substantial jump in velocity as well, 26.98. Have a look at the brass. All right, the brass looked good. So we are moving on to 25.5 grains. Tell you what, I'm going to move our scope to the left 1 minute. Okay, halfway decent group. Velocity was 2788, standard deviation 17.4, and the brass looked okay. So we're heading in the right direction here. Next up is 26 grains. Okay, where were we at? 2860, 40.7. All right, so the brass looked good on that one. So we're going to go ahead and move on to 26.5. That 26 grainer, what do we have? 2860 and 40.7. I'm glad that our velocity has climbed up to a good number, but I was hoping for better standard deviation numbers because this CFE 223 ended up being a pretty full case at 26 and a half grains. So I don't know, let's try out 26 and a half, see what happens. Okay, a little bit disappointed in CFE 223. That's okay. Got up to 2891 with a 29.5 feet per second standard deviation. This brass still looks pretty good, so could probably keep going with a little bit more CFE 223. Try some hotter charges, maybe get a little bit more velocity. If it showed more promising accuracy in my gun, I would probably do that. All right, let's stop gabbing. Let's get back to the bench. Let's measure these groups. Let's come to some conclusions. Okay, first things first, let's discuss my safety violation earlier in the video. So when I was weighing out some X-Terminator charges, I still had my can of CFE 223 sitting right there on the bench. That's a big no-no in my book, right? I mean, we all develop our procedures to try not to blow our face off, and this is one of my biggest ones, and that's one type of powder on the bench open at any time. Anytime powder's open, everything else comes off. Because if you're going to blow your face off reloading, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a powder mix-up. It's going to be a load data mix-up. It's going to be something like that, most likely. So mixing up powders is always a big fear of mine. And I really screwed up. And it's made worse by the fact that these are both spherical powders. They look pretty much identical. So if I had a trickler full of X-Terminator, I got distracted, left the bench for a while, came back, then it would be very easy to mix up and say, oh yeah, my trickler's full of 223 or something. So just wanted to point it out. That's bad news, man. That was a big mistake on my part. One powder open on the bench at a time. Don't blow your face off. All right, now on to the important stuff. Our target. Let me darken this up a little bit. All right, let's see if that worked. So, Ramshot X-Terminator, really good shooting. Really good shooting. And you guys might be saying like, whoa, dude, hold your horses there. None of the groups are even under an inch. But if you went back and watched the test videos we did on this Palmetto State Armory upper, this is very good shooting for this gun. So, best group was a 1.01 incher here at 24 grains. And second best was the Lehigh factory load up there at 24.5. Had that one little flyer that kind of screwed it up. But just the eyeball test, man, this was trying to group. This was definitely trying to group. So I'm very happy to see this, and I'm happy to see that that my barrel really seemed to be good with these. Now, the Lehigh load data is with a 20-inch barrel. Not surprising, right? So we were shooting a 16-inch barrel, so it's no surprise we got up to 29.28, which is respectable. Their load data, I think it said, I should have it right here in front of me, but I don't. I think it said like 3050 or 3100 or something like that. So we're lagging a little bit behind, but that's mainly because of our barrel length, I believe. So this is definitely a winner. There is no doubt in my mind that somewhere in this upper range, we could nail down a really solid load and go kick some butt with it. No doubt about it. Very happy with X-Terminator. Now, CFE 223, once I got back here to the bench and measured these groups, it isn't really as bad as I thought, but this is just kind of a good example of, you know, the eye test being important. You know, these X-Terminator loads were clearly trying to group, right? Like they were trying to shoot small groups. This was a little more overall spread, you know, a little overall more crappy, but still not bad. You know, our best group was this 1.08 inch guy. This last one had this crazy flyer up high that made it a 3.66 inch group, but I think that was just a, yeah, I don't know. Something weird happened there. The good news though is we had no load data for CFE 223, so we did not blow our face off, which is priority number one. And our brass looked excellent all the way up, and we could push this a little bit farther, right? We're lagging a little bit behind in velocity here, but we had a touch more case capacity, really good looking brass, so we might be able to push this up just a little bit higher to see what happens. I'll tell you what, speaking of brass, let's have a look at the brass. I removed the lowest charge row for each powder, just to kind of make the separation a little easier to see. So these first four rows here on the left are X-Terminator loads, and then the ones on the right are CFE 223. You should see no real primer flattening going on, maybe just a tiny little bit on the high end, but no none of the round ejector marks on our case head or any of that stuff. So good looking brass with both powders. Very happy with the pressure signs we saw. So overall, this was just a good little day on the range here. You know, I'm happy with this. I'm very happy with this. I think X-Terminator is a winner here in my gun. And if I return to this bullet or go to similar bullets and test, X-Terminator will probably be on the list to test, because this is encouraging results. No doubt about it. Very encouraging. There we are. Okay, not much to talk about because there's not a lot to complain about. All good to go. One thing I didn't mention, back when I was seating bullets, very consistent overall lengths. You know, these machined brass bullets are very consistent, so it makes a lot of sense. They seated nicely, had just incredibly consistent overall length numbers. They were fun to load. You know, there was nothing to complain about with the process. The war on lead is not going away, right? Our ranges are going to continue to ban lead ammo. Our states are going to continue to ban lead ammo for hunting. So it's time we all start migrating, or at the very least finding some copper solids that we like. Because you know, it's just a matter of time, I feel like. So Lehigh is making that transition a whole lot easier, because they're putting out some cool stuff. They're putting out some really cool stuff. And so are some of the other, you know, like Maker bullets. You've seen me shoot some of their stuff. This is the future, and they're making that transition from lead to lead-free bullets a little bit easier than we otherwise might have thought, right? And it's to the point where a lot of people are hunting with these even though they don't have to. The performance is there. We just all kind of need to slowly work our way that direction, because yeah, like I say, there's no turning back. Man, that's some serious babbling I got going on here. All right, I think that's going to do it for this video. It's all good. Nothing to complain about. Still got some bullets left. So we might just have to do some more testing with this bullet, because they've got my attention. They have definitely got my attention. So, all right, see you guys next time.